Hey Leon. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I'm probably like butchering it because it definitely doesn't start L-A. Loane? I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to avoid it, but I did try. Welcome to your personality placement analysis. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through your ascendant, your sun, and your moon. Starting with your ascendant, I'm not sure if I'm gonna move to your sun or moon next, but we'll see. With this reading, I don't advertise it, but I am going to go into the decans of your placements. I'm going to go into the tarot representations of that. I'm going to go into the planets that actually are relevant to what's going on between your sun and your moon and your personality. And I'll talk about all those things so we can have a clear understanding of what's going on in your chart. And then I'll take a little bit of time to talk about what people are seeing from the outside looking in based on what we talked about. They're not going to know all the details of what we talked about, but I can give you a superficial version of what they're understanding based on what we talk about. So let's start. So you're a Taurus ascendant, and more specifically, your ascendant resides in the first decan of Taurus. This is represented by the Five of Discs within the tarot. And with the Five of Discs, you actually find a wall. It represents this kind of hitting a wall and needing to be stopped. And that's for all the different suits of the decks. But the fives in general are just about hitting a wall. And for the Five of Discs, for the first decan of Taurus, that wall is rejection. People not accepting or not listening or kind of maybe even maliciously opposing you for the sake of just having you go away. They want you to either agree with them or leave, agree with them or shut up, either be a part of our group and be in the background without your own opinion, or don't be a part of our group. It can be very tough to deal with the first decan of Taurus because Taurus needs to learn the physicality of autonomy, I guess is a way to put it, because you have Aries, which came first, which is all about the self and doing what is best for oneself and pure selfishness without like the negative connotations necessarily. But when you have that first decan of Taurus, that where Aries is still an influence, Taurus needs to learn what autonomy is when it comes to the physical world. And that means you cannot share. And that doesn't mean you're selfish all the time. It might mean that other people refuse to share with you. They refuse to take anything from you. They refuse to give anything to you. So you're going to have to learn what it means to be autonomous in a physical world where in our society, a lot of that has to do with sharing. So you might not be able to share, or people might not want to share with you. So that can be tough. So a lesson there is the idea of understanding how to take rejection with grace, learning how to be your own best judge of character. Don't take what other people say about you. Don't take how other people treat you and assume that is a reflection of what you do, who you are, and what you should do or what you should be. You're going to have to learn, again, with that stead strong Taurus. Taurus doesn't just come out stead strong and come out so stubborn and willing to fight for what it needs and fight for what it wants. Taurus has to learn to do that. And you're in that decan, or your ascendant is in that decan where Taurus learns to do that. So you're going to need to learn to buckle down and not let people sway you from how you feel. Don't let people's opinions sway you from what you're going to do and what you believe in. So this is kind of the rough end of that, where you're going to have things thrown at you. You're going to have people throw things at you. You're going to have people try to pull you in different directions based on what they want. And you're going to have to learn to be stead strong. You're going to have to learn to be stubborn and take that all and kind of forge your personality out of that. Everything is kind of sitting within your hands. Your personality is, at least when it comes to your ascendant, when it comes to how you deal with people and how people see you, you can kind of mold it in ways that people would be surprised Taurus has the ability to mold. With the first decan of Taurus, you do have the ability to kind of mold who you want to be and how you want to be seen by people, where the other decans of Taurus kind of don't have that leeway in the same way that you do. So with Mars sitting on your ascendant as well in Taurus, there can kind of be an overwhelming sort of energy to you, especially if you do not learn to take rejection with grace. If you're the type of person that doesn't take rejection well, or demands answers, demands that people tell them why they don't like you or tell them why they rejected you, or you're just a demanding person, period, and you're demanding from others instead of demanding from yourself, you can create a very overwhelming personality, which could kind of answer for why people reject you, unfortunately, because again, Mars is creating this kind of sense of autonomy. So if you're too strong, if you're coming on too strong when you approach people, they might be even more inclined to just be like, okay, get away from me, or to just immediately say no, or to feel like you're encroaching or you're attacking when you're not really intending to do that. I can talk a little bit about your Mars and what the influence of Mars is, because you have your Mars at 16 degrees. So this is Mars in the second decan of Taurus, still within your ascendant though. What that second decan is about is the idea of kind of purifying your choices, your life choices and your lifestyle. Really sitting down with yourself, because with the second decan, it's assumed that you understand and you've moved beyond the first decan of kind of learning your personal autonomy and what that means. But with the second decan, you actually learn to share. Again, you can now freely exchange with other people, and especially in physical terms. And what is emphasized here in the second decan is the idea of, have you learned your lesson? Now that you can exchange with people freely, and it's not so much a question of are you going to be rejected or not, are you going to understand that you still need to be who you want to be? You still need to not be swayed by other people. You need to put a lot of effort into understanding that what you spend your money on, what you spend your energy on, what you decide to pay attention to, and what you decide to ignore, those are all representations of who you are. And you just decided and molded who you were in the first decan. So if you do not stick to what you have molded, you're going to find yourself in trouble and find a lot of struggle in the second decan. And especially with your Mars here in your in your ascendant or in your first house, you're gonna have to pay a lot of attention of where you put your energy. Who are you friends with? Who do you spend money on? Where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your time? What schools do you go to? What brands do you wear? You need to check who you're deciding to be, because if you're gonna decide to be this woman, then you're going to need to be that woman 100% of the time, with every action that you take, with a microscope on top of that, because this is all happening within your first house. So it's everything that you're trying to represent to the world. I don't want to ramble too much on about that, but I do think it's important that we touched on those points. So with your sun sitting in the second house, what I can immediately see is a plot twist. Like, there's immediate plot twist being thrown into your chart when it comes to your ascendant, what we just discussed with your ascendant, and what's going on with your moon, even though we haven't tackled that yet. With the plot twist is that what we just talked about with needing to be steadfast and deciding who you are, needing to be that 100% with a microscope on top, there is now a time limit on who you're going to be and how long you need to be that person for 100% of the time, and what happens when that microscope is sitting there and you decide to transition, because there's going to be a lot of transition. There's going to be a lot of channeling and inspiration and being able to change and be fluid. And especially with your sun being in the third decan of Gemini in your second house, it's all about you being able to master the transition, to master your ability to kind of form and change and mold and transform within your own comfortable scopes of time and still be you, but show dimension instead of showing instability or falsehood. The third decan of Gemini specifically is all about the idea of accepting loss, accepting transition, because through this first and the second decans of Gemini, you learned the idea of being able to be open to new ideas, being able to not let fear grip you, to be able to move past your fear of change, move past your fear of loss, move past your fear of falling in love with a thing, with a person, with an idea, and learning to, you know what, jump into love, jump into inspiration. When you feel inspired to do something, you fully go for it, and you learn to push that fear aside. That's what that third decan sun is about. It's your ego, or at least that's how you like to describe yourself, as someone who can jump in, and when you feel passionate about something, you will do something about that passion. Now, the plot twist and everything that I'm hedging at here falls onto the third decan, and that third decan is all about understanding that passion will go away. Love does not just stay forever. That's what relationships are all about. What do you do when the passion dies out and you're just left with this person that you care about in that mean something. Same idea happens with your work. It happens with your ideas. It happens with your friends. It happens with everything. It's just it's a Gemini fact that passion will run dry. The flame will go out, and you're still responsible to be open for the next thing. That's what the Lovers card is all about that represents Gemini. That's why it's such a scary card. If you didn't know that, it is a scary card. It's about being able to accept and being able to take on and being able to transition, and with that third decan, accept the loss of the passion, accept the loss of the thing that has kept you going for so long, and be able to stay open, stay loving, and stay accepting for the next passion that's going to come, and be willing to jump on that train and let it take you whatever direction it's going to take you. And that can be hard with your ascendant. It can be hard to find acceptance that way. It can be hard to find stability that way. It can be hard to just kind of live your life transitioning constantly, but then having your ascendant get you bullied for every time, or get you punished for every time that you decide you want to change who you are. But I think the key point is Mars sitting in your ascendant, sitting in the second decan of Taurus. I think that is your like janitor's key, like the key ring that opens all the doors. That's your master key to being able to survive and even, maybe even thrive wherever you go, no matter what you want to do. And that's because whenever you transition, whenever you're struck by a new passion, you have your Mars in the second decan reminding you and putting you a little bit more emphasis on your ability to say, wait, does this align with who I want to be? It doesn't matter who you do want to be. You can want to be whoever you want. You can change whatever way you want. But if you want to stay with the idea of being 100% of who you are, going with and standing behind who you want to be 100%, that's how you utilize your Mars. And saying that, you know what, I no longer want to be the girl who parties all the time, who goes out and hangs out with her friends, who kind of finds value in fun. I don't want to be that girl anymore. I want to be the girl who goes to work and finds value fun, finds earning fun, finds hard work fun, finds being exhausted of value. And that's okay. Those are two totally different things. Maybe you had a passion for partying before, and now you have a passion for work now. Let's make it two extremes. You can make that transition. You can be whoever you want to be. You're not wrong for that. The issue is going to be when you were partying with those friends, were they the right friends for you? Was it the right party for you? Were you partying in responsible ways that you deem as responsible? This is where Mars is coming in, where you have to answer those questions. Does this align with who you want to be? And when you switch over and you say, you know what, no, I'm a career gal now. Are you going to pick a career that actually aligns with what you believe in? Are you going to pick a business that actually stands behind what you stand behind, and they don't disrespect your beliefs, whether it's on purpose or not? Are you going to find coworkers that you get along with that actually align with who you are now? It doesn't matter that you've transitioned. What matters is that you're doing it authentically, that you're always standing behind who you are, no matter who you are, 100%. Don't let other things come into play. Don't let temptation of ease and temptation of convenience lead you astray, because you can transition whatever way you want, and you're probably going to constantly transition whether you want to or not, just based on what I'm looking at in your chart. But you're going to need to stay aligned with who you want to be, and keep an eye, which is kind of weird, keep an eye on yourself. And make sure that you're making authentic decisions based on whoever you want to be. But if you're going to be that person, stand behind that 100%. So hopefully that makes sense. So lastly, we're here with your moon. You have your moon in Leo, in the third decan of Leo. It's one of my favorite moons. I have my moon in Leo as well, even though it's in the second decan. Third decan Leo is the Leo that everyone wants Leo to be. It's the version of Leo that is mighty, standing or sitting on its horse, or riding its lion, or running into war, fighting violently and valiantly. I have a weird accent. For what they believe in, fighting with conviction, where you have this grandiose sort of battle for what Leo believes in, and it's righteous and it's good and it pumps people up and it makes people want to stand up and roar behind whatever it is that Leo is roaring for. And it can be tough to have such a boisterous sort of I'm fighting for what I believe in energy sitting behind you, especially in such a place where it can really sitting in your fifth house, where it can really pick up a lot of amplification with your moon and Leo in the fifth house. When you scream, people hear you. When you want attention, people know. Like, it's very hard to miss you if you don't want to be missed with the placement that you have. So it can be kind of hard to stay in line with this idea that I fight for what I believe in. I fight with conviction. This is me. I don't think that's right, or I think that is right, or I think that's wrong, or I don't think that is wrong. And being forward about that and being loud about that. It can be hard to do that and also have everything we just talked about when you're constantly transitioning, because what you're willing to fight for and what you believe is right and what you believe is wrong when you were in party mode compared to when you were in career mode just switched. And if everyone heard you when you were over here, everyone's going to hear you when you're over there. So what's going to happen when they talk to each other and they say, well, she's a totally different person? That's not what she was saying a couple months ago. That's not what she was saying last year. This isn't what she put on display before, because you're an excellent self-marketer. You know how to market yourself. You know how to get yourself heard. You know how to get yourself noticed. But it can bite you in the ass very quickly if you do not do it authentically. Because just like we talked about with Gemini, with the authentic transition, if there is faultiness in there, if it's not an authentic transition, if you decided to be a career gal and you went into a career that you don't truly believe in, you went into worked for a business that doesn't actually stand behind what you claim you stand behind. Because remember, now that we've introduced your moon, everything that you claim is heard. It is a part of how people understand you. Every time you say, I don't believe in doing that, I don't believe in wearing fur, that's not right, people are going to remember that. And they're also going to remember that that's what you said, so that's who you are. And they're going to pin that onto you. So if you go and work for a company that, let's say, is a fashion company, and they have a big fur line, and you're working at this fashion company that does believe in fur, people are going to remember that. And people are going to eventually find a way to attack you for it. The more popular you get, the more famous that you get, the more successful that you get, the bigger and wider the numbers of people who are willing to shoot you down. Because remember, you're ascendant. They're ready and willing to shoot you down as soon as you show a hypocritical point. As soon as you show that you're not utilizing your Mars and you're not making decisions that actually align with what you believe in, no matter who you are. Now, if you were to switch over and decide, I do believe in furs now, like I do believe in fur, I rethought it, and I decided that, you know, I don't know, it's natural, humans have been doing this for years and years and years. That's something else. That's something totally different. Because if you do decide that you believe in furs and that's what you say, then you're just marketing a transition. You're not hypocritical, you've changed your mind, and you're allowed to change your mind. But it is different if you still want to say, I don't believe in furs, yet you work for a company that promotes fur. That's different. So hopefully I made that very clear, the differentiation between that. And there's something to be said with your moon sitting next to Chiron in your fifth house. The idea of you not necessarily understanding how much power you have when it comes to marketing yourself. You maybe not understanding how much influence that you have over the people around you. If someone likes you, they will hang on your every word. Speaking from experience with my own Leo moon and sitting on my ascendant, we have a very magnetic energy. If people decide they like us, they're totally opening up themselves for us to market to them. Market to them what we believe, market to them who we are, market to them what it is that we think. You may not be taking full advantage of how much influence you have over your ability to transition smoothly. If you want to be someone else, act like it, speak it into reality, and do it. Because when you say that's what you want now, people are going to hear you and they're going to be like, okay, that's what she wants now. This is who she is now because that's the way she marketed it to me. So whatever she's selling, I'm buying it. So just kind of remember that. Remember that part, and remember that you have a lot more control than you think, and people are judging you a lot more on what you say than what you do. That's when they're really going to catch you. If you say you believe in something and you do the opposite, they're going to yell at you about what you said, not what you did. So what we see from the outside looking in. From the outside looking in, we kind of see someone who may seem a little niche. People see you and we deal with you and we talk to you, and it seems like you, whether you know it or not, whether you fully attained what we talked about just a few minutes ago, we see someone who's very specific about what they like, what they don't like, what they're into, what they wear. We see everything about you as a specific decision, a personal decision that is almost talking to us. Like you're wearing a really nice floral vintage dress. Someone will walk by and be like, oh, okay, she's a hipster. She's telling me she's a hipster. She's telling me this. Or she's walking that way. She's walking as if she doesn't see anybody on the sidewalk. Okay, she must be a bitch because she's telling me this. Everything is an assumed communication. So from the outside looking in, we think that you're someone who's a lot more active and a lot more aggressive about communicating non-verbally than you may actually be. When you continue to promote yourself in the ways that you want to promote yourself, wear what you want to wear, do it confidently, do it consciously, knowing that we see you and that we're judging you, and it doesn't matter that we're judging you. You'll open yourself up for people to say, I respect that, rather than I want to tear that apart. We also see someone who may be a bit obsessive. Like you may only talk about certain things because like that's your obsession at the moment, or like you're wearing certain shirts or wearing certain like, I don't know, décolletage from like certain things. Like you may have a pin, like a Rick and Morty pin on, or like you may have like a certain shoe on that's like in this fall line of a very specific fashion line, or like you're just very clear. It's very obvious what it is that you're into because you somehow bought it and made it and put it on display. We know what kind of shows you like because you're kind of a walking billboard for it. You have it somewhere. It's very obvious somewhere what shows you're into, what clothes you're into, what celebrities you like. It's obvious. So we can kind of pick up a lot on you're an obsessive type of person. Not obsessive like an extreme. Really obsessive is an overstatement. But we can very much tell that you are passionate about pop culture, and you're passionate about the pop culture that you are passionate about. And it becomes very obvious to us, and it's a billboard. We know what you like. We can tell what you like. We can also tell, unfortunately, with your Chiron next to your moon, that you're pretty insecure. That you don't understand your potential. A lot of people may feel the need to kind of like put you up on a pedestal or kind of like cradle you a little bit. It may feel as if they're holding you back sometimes, holding you back from your full potential if you feel as if you can make something happen. But most of the time it's actually pretty convenient, that feeling of people kind of like cradling you or feeling the need to pump you up and make you feel special. And it's because we can tell that you're not fully secure in your power. We can realize that when you say things, we listen, we respect it, we want to buy whatever you're selling, but we also notice that you don't realize it. You come off so very genuine, but it's almost a thin line between genuine and naive, because you're so genuine because you don't even understand that you got us hooked as soon as you started speaking, that we were going to say yes regardless of what you said after the question. You don't have to keep fighting so hard to get people to believe in you, to get people to buy whatever it is you're selling, to get people to say yes to you, especially if you're already on good grounds. Learn how to accept and pull confidence from friendships, from people just liking you. If you know someone doesn't dislike you, utilize that. And stop assuming that they can leave, that they're like, how much they like you will just kind of go away somehow. Or all you have to do is one thing and they suddenly will hate you. That's not the truth. But we can tell that that's what you think. We can see your insecurity. We can tell by the way that you try to express yourself. So we tend to cradle, we tend to kind of pull you in and try to make you feel safe constantly. And it might ultimately start holding you back, or you might explain why people that you like or people that you love or people that you respect kind of hold you back and let other people go forward. And it might be because they're trying to protect you because you're not showing them that you're strong, or at least confident about your strength. Hopefully those are some good points. That idea of what you're seeing from the outside looking in, what we talked about going through your entire chart. I feel pretty good about it. I think this is a fun chart to do. I wish I could dig in more into the rest of your chart and pull in other factors at hand, because we really only touched on your ascendant, your second house, your fifth house. We only touched on, of course, your ascendant, your sun and your moon, a little bit of Mars, a little bit of Chiron. But there's so much more to dig into, and there's so much more to explain the motivation, to explain the context, to explain what is the backstory, what is the whole grand story going on, instead of these little pieces that I'm pulling together to kind of make sense of. But hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you can pull something from it. I really enjoyed doing this. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to sit down with your chart and pull this up. And yeah, just thanks for ordering the reading with me. I'm going to get this to you as soon as possible. And yeah, stay well.